Morning, folks. Today we'll be talking about this smart human presence sensor M100. This is by Tuya, and the spec we are talking about is for Wi-Fi version and is the 24G version, which is supposed to be more sensitive and much more stronger. Now, heads up, just to confirm, before you buying a Wi-Fi model, you may want to know that the Zigbee version has more proper documentation as of today. So that is more established in terms of how to set it up. You would see Zigbee 5.8G version has much more proper gig hub supports and so on. So if you want them to have more easier experience, so get the 5.8G Zigbee version itself. Alright, so there's two versions. We are looking at the version that's stick on the wall today. If you want to see the specs, this is the spec. It in theory he can sense up to a 8-meter presence itself in this version. In the normal situation, if you don't want it to be very complicated, you can just use it from the app. You can use it from both Tuya or Smart Life app. Now, both apps work differently. Tuya cater more for China, where you likely see in Chinese language only. So for international market, you will use Smart Life. So this is a Smart Life app UI. This is where you see it first, where it has all the indicator. These are the things that you can change a bit. How was the maximum delay time and sensitivity you want to set. In these things, please make sure if you incorporate into Home Assistant, you need to follow the same gauge as well. If not, the Home Assistant will not be able to measure it or control it accordingly. So in Journal, it will give you the journal record of these three things. Now, if you are doing in Home Assistant, you will be able to get lux, the light level. You'll be able to get the distance of object that is reflecting the signal. You'll be able to get two indication. So this is inductive, where it's the more primary or original data. It will actually see is there anything move. If it's move, is it a human? All right. So if detect a human, then if they didn't detect anything, it will detect as a none. So normally this will blast a move indication first, then a present. So it always bounce respectively. There is a present indication. So there's a man status in the Home Assistant or any log you will see in the integration. You would see this as presence. What happened to this? This is actually not very consistent. So sometimes you may end up like this is at the midnight. Okay, you go to sleep. It still have exist as the last indicator, and it's never updated. And then the second day when really someone move again, then another axis bounce. So if you have automation that set triggering here, a nobody to actually turn off everything, that will not work. Your lights will keep on overnight. All right. Now, in this log, this is where you see is always have a bounce and counter check every several minutes and stuff. If you want to do integration of all the automation, in my case, I need to use a Home Assistant. That's where, because my lights and stuff are on different ecosystems, so I need to go into Home Assistant to do the setting. If you're everything on a Smart Life system, then you probably can do it inside the automation inside the app itself. According to the recommendation and things that I've tried, I would agree if you are doing more detailed control and stuff, local Tuya can give you more things. But however, it's a new product, so things are not that properly set up. So when you set up the things, like for the presence indicator, at the end of the day, you can really get this type of control. What's the delay time? What's the longest distance you want to measure? What's the sensitivity? What's the present sensitivity? And you would get this indication whether there's any human axis of presence there. Is there a motion in the dining room? What's the lux level? What's the presence, the human's distance? So I'm about 1.5 meter away from the sensor now. So you can get this type of things. However, where story will get a turn later, that I will recommend to use the cloud one. So please bear with me. Now here, before you do all this setting, you need to remember that you need to do a MAC address and IP binding so that you make sure your device always have the same IP, because if not, the next time you do all this adding, like inside configure, you have configure device, it may run away. So once you rebooted the system, the device get a different IP, you will actually lost a whole setting and need to do everything again. Now, I'm going to tell you this button. Once you're set up, add entry, do not click. Add entry does not mean that you are adding a device. Add entry actually will wipe out your local Tuya main setting. So your main setting here, if you're doing a edit a device, you have set up, add a new device, reconfigure. So this is where you do it. So if you add a new device and so on, there are steps to follow. So you can follow through and set it up accordingly. So on local Tuya, first step is to get all these keys, set it up. Second step is you need to decode and get the entity name and code so that you understand which of it actually represents delay time, long distance, which are sensors that tell you the answer if people are there or not, or what's the illuminance itself. Now, in this case, I'm going to show you about the automation issue. So you can actually automate all this to turn off or turn it on according to whether there is human there or not. Now, this is a chart of the live sensor, how it goes. So every different time gap of it, it will bounce a signal, and then where the line stop, for example, here is 150 cm. This is where it indicate I'm sitting at my desk here, and then there's another line that is here. Based on my check, this is the wall behind me, right? So you would see that even I'm sitting here consistently all the times, there are times the signals also go past me. So if you're doing an automation, detect the distance indicator that change from okay infinity or from 3 meters to 1.5, turn on the light. That actually will not work. In fact, it will actually a lot of accident trigger, because every time it trigger, all this movement will be count as the movement as itself. So it doesn't take like okay, across a period of time there are people in the 1.5, I just keep the light on, I don't touch it, I don't turn it off, right? So if the line go here, then it become oh human not there, it will turn it off itself. You could try to use delay time, human presence more than certain minutes there and turn on. Might works, might not works, you could try. The other thing is in Asia market, please make sure you're doing all these things. Pets and also fan that is common in Asia, that's a big influence for your setup here. So if you're using local Tuya, fan will interrupt it quite badly. This is a sample that of the setting. So you could set that if something like from no signal or move away, you go back to presence for 5 minutes. You will actually then turn on or turn off the lighting. Then you could do it this way. However, I show you wow the principle work. It is actually something never trigger. This is related to a different issue, because when we set up via your local Tuya, the indication, even though you can see in the earlier tab, you could actually get all these move, axis, presence, nobody itself, right? However, when you come to automation here, those are actually not available. So this is the critical part you need to know. If you plan to do a full automation using all the attributes, the local Tuya one, for now, it doesn't capture the move and nobody indication. So you will not be able to set those. So what I've set here is like from presence to anything else, or from anything else to presence. So this type of indication, uh, I was hoping it works, because on the cloud version of Tuya I tried at first, I can set from move to presence, then it will turn on. From presence to nobody, it will turn off. It doesn't work here on the local Tuya. Right. So just now, what I have described are about the local Tuya integration, which are more complex. So for the level of the automation I need, I will actually delete local Tuya. I'll go back to just the normal Tuya itself, the cloud Tuya, where it's much more simpler to set up. Now the downside is you will actually lose everything. You will only get a motion answers. This motion will give you the three status: nobody, presence, and move. So, but with that, it is much more accurate in triggering the automation for switching light on and off in an area. Inside the app, the indicator that is carried over to the cloud Tuya is this inductive status log. Inductive status log, it will go something like this. You will always see it blast a move. It indicated there's move, then it double confirm is it a human or not. So there are gaps between here. So based on my observation, sometimes, most of the time, it's less than 5 minutes. So for safer, I would do it like if there is presence for 5 minutes, then and then not. So if there's from none, they go to move, and then go presence. It will turn on the light itself. Now, if it's presence and then it doesn't have any update after that, that's probably because you have moved away. So sometimes you don't even see a none. So if there is an indication like if you presence and then there's no update for more than 15 minutes, then that's potentially you can set it to turn off. Because here you can see the gap of all these blasts are quite close. Every 1 to 2 minutes it will blast and check your presence. Um, I am aware online they say can go 0.1 second time delay. I have tried to set it up. There's no way I'm getting 0.1, even though on the early dashboard here I managed to get a 0.1, but then you will see on the right side it is actually say it's not changed. Alright, that's all folks. Subscribe if this helped you in any parts of your setup. Thank you guys. This is the detailed steps that you can see how to set up for the presence sensor, where you will see the UI on the home assistant part. There are two other parts. One is you need to get to the IoT Tuya to get the local keys. Then you need to get some GitHub tools to detect what are the entity names, so you can set up it accordingly. Hope this gives you some idea how it works, because I myself find it quite tricky to start the first round how to set it up itself.